Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics with a very fun project for you today. As you know, most of our tutorials are surrounding quilting. Well, you may have noticed cross stitch is on fire, and it's actually where I fell in love with creating many, well, let's say decades ago. And I'm so excited that really cross stitch is on the rise and more people are learning how. In fact, my friend Bev McCullough, who's an amazing designer for Riley Blake Fabrics, also happens to design cross-stitch patterns. She recently launched a club that sold out very fast, where she offers a project each month in a beautiful pink box, and you can either cross-stitch or hand embroider. Well, this was the very first one that she did here. And of course, when I finished the stitchery, I wanted to display it. So I asked Bev, any ideas? And she turned me onto a company called Paisleys Polka Dots. I'm so glad she did. This amazing company makes these beautiful displays. And of course, you could put anything on them, but I decided to take the adorable stitchery from Bev that I had finished. And of course, as a fabric company, primarily, I could not resist using some mounting board to be able to wrap some fabric around with a little bit of batting and be able to display this. How beautiful for maybe an entryway. So we are now going to be offering these displays by Paisleys and Polka Dots, this display and many more. But I thought it was appropriate to show you what can you expect. This begins as a kit. And I don't want this to chase anybody away because these are so beautifully engineered, easily put together. And then with simple paint, you can have the display and then, of course, something to probably display your stitchery on. And you can even put a quilt block on here. So really let your mind just kind of expand at what could be displayed. So today's tutorial will actually be about how does this assemble. And then the second part of this will be actually, how do we take our stitchery? What's the process, you said, of trimming and mounting and getting from this to that? What's that process? So I don't want to leave any mysteries, right? I want you to be able to replicate everything I'm doing. This beautiful stitchery here is our Learn to Cross Stitch 2, second part. It's a beautiful sunflower where we have a different Aida cloth. I'll be stitching in hand and some other techniques that I'll be talking you through. But the first thing is, how do we put this display together? So that's what today's tutorial is about. So this is your kit, as I mentioned, and they do a beautiful job of packaging that and including instructions. But I will be guiding you through this, so you won't even need those instructions. But they've done a beautiful job of showing you exactly how the project goes together. So if maybe you have your kit, you don't have access to YouTube, you'll be able to easily follow the instruction. Now, what I have here on my work table, this is actually just wax paper. You could use parchment paper, aluminum foil, something to protect your work surface. I put just a little glue here, and this is nothing fancy. You could get wood glue. This happens to be just an Elmer's glue. We're not building a house here or a jet. It's just something that will hold together over the years. So don't break the bank when it comes to the glue. I have just a few sponge brushes. I've also even used my own fingers. A little bit messy, but kind of fun. But I thought for today's purpose, I would just use some sponge brushes. So again, here are our instructions that are included. And she also gives you a QR code that you can be able to watch the video. Julie has done a great job of producing a video of how this goes together. And then here are her instructions. So right away, as we look at our kit and we kind of disassemble this so you can see, these are so highly engineered and thoughtfully made. They're incredible. So even if you have never done anything like this and this is your first time, you can absolutely be so successful. It's so fun. And to be able to display your stitchery like this in the entryway is so worth it. You're going to get 1,000 compliments. I guarantee it. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is notice how the slit here is not centered, and there's a reason for that. It's brilliant, and we'll talk our way through that. But I just wanted to right away point out that the narrower part is on my left and the wider part is on the right. And there's nothing significant about that. I can certainly turn them around, but I just wanted to keep those in your mind because later on when we add the frame, the reason for that offset is the compensation for that beautiful scallop trim that they created. Julie works with her husband and they create these projects in their at their home. It's amazing. So our very first job here is to grab our scallop, and notice with the opening here up, I simply just put the bottom of this in my glue. And if you get too much, the best part is you can just go to your wax paper and just kind of dab it so it's not so much. The hardest part of this is finding the center, right? So I just tried to look straight down and tried to visualize the same distance. And here's the great news. If you don't nail the exact center, who cares, right? You're just trying to get it in the ballpark. I suppose you could draw lines if you wanted to find that perfect geometric center and figure out the circumference. Again, we're not building a Boeing here. We're building something fun to display our stitchery. So that's our first step here. For our second step, right away, she says narrow side to the back. Remember how we said that for the base, there's a wider portion and there's the narrower portion. So we'll make the wider portion in front with you, and this will be the back with me. So what she's saying right here is figure 2. Note that the slot is not centered in the base. This is to allow spacing for the scallop border. Be sure the narrow part of the base is in the back of the frame. So that's what we're doing here. So with that in mind, right away, this main portion comes into play. Now, let me just show you what that's going to look like, how it just fits so beautifully in there, but it's also nicely snug, right? So it's not going to come apart. I liked putting a touch of glue in there. That was me. You might choose not to, but again, I think for security reasons, I don't want this thing falling apart. Now, I also don't want any glue kind of oozing out. This is almost why I have an extra brush. So if it does, I kind of just wipe it away. You might want to have a damp cloth ready to wipe off any excess glue. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of glue along here. Notice it's not much. When it comes to glue, more is not better. And we don't want to have so much glue here that it doesn't want to squeeze in there. So this is just a little bit of an insurance policy, and straight down, just like that. So there's the very beginning. See how easily it fits? It's incredible. So for the upper portion, remember that we have our wider portion in the front. The narrow is back with me. So this is where this next piece is going to go, right? But once again, I'm going to put just a little bit of a glue, actually right there. And a little bit on the back. This reminds me when I was a kid, we worked with a lot of glue and a lot of glitter, especially at Christmas time, and I always loved that. Feels like the messier the project, almost the more I loved it. I don't know what that was, but it's a thing. Okay. All right. So we have our wider portion in the front, our narrow in the back, and we give a good push. This is what the top looks like. You can see that from above. Now, the next step that she has us do is to add this upper portion. Let me show you what this is going to look like. And it's to cover this here. This is basically to cover up where the joining happens here. This is another one where you're going to be just trying to center it as best you can. So I put a little bit of glue kind of right down the middle. But again, I don't want anything oozing out in the front or the back. And my goal is to press down and have that even. I feel like that's very even right now. Okay, moving right along. The scallop frame. You put that off to the side for just a moment. And this appears to be, at least I thought it was universal. Let's see if it is universal. Let's see, we know that fits right in. Looks like it's very universal. Yes. And look at that. Just perfect, right? But of course, we want to secure that. So once again, just a little bit of glue. You might want to set the glue up and let it be on your wax paper, parchment paper, whatever you're doing. So it sets up, it's like more tacky. I've definitely used glue when it was very runny, harder to control. This is definitely not going to go anywhere once it's added to our project here. This glue is good and tacky. Okay. So making sure we have our wider portion in the front. And I can just feel the sides. I can feel that it's flush. And I'm just going to squeeze it front to back, just like that. One thing that is not actually included in the photo is this here. And I actually put that on last, again, trying to figure out that exact center. And a pointer here that I learned, if you notice here, that's your center scallop, both here and here. So if you just kind of with your fingers, find that center scallop here and here, you want the base right underneath here and that top knot. It's just decorative right above here. You don't even have to add this if you don't want to, of course. Or this. If you just want this sitting on a table, you don't need to add this. If you like the elevation of this, add it. I love that, right? It's kind of choose your own journey. Now, I'm just going to dip that in there, make sure I have everything. That needs to hold very well. Okay, so as I said, and it's a little bit hard for me to see it, let me just do this, and then I will show you where I am here. There we go. Let me turn this around. I better turn the whole thing around. It's wet right now. So I'm looking to be centered right under that center scallop. And as I look at it from the side, front to back, right? Again, but not perfect, especially front to back. I don't think anyone's going to notice, but I think it will notice left to right. So let's just check it one more time while it's wet and make sure we really like that. Feel like that looks pretty good. And then for our top knot here, again, I just kind of dip it. I'll turn it toward me one more time just to make sure I hit that right. I think that looks good, hopefully. And we have our display. Now, don't be tempted to spray that anytime soon. Give it plenty of time to dry. I called Julie and said, I really love how a lot of your displays look like chalk paint. She gave me a brand, Magnolia Homes. You might have heard of her, right? From Joanna Gaines. This is her brand. This is what Julie recommended to me. I gave it a great shake. I found this at Home Depot. Lowe's has it. So it sounds like it's readily available. This is just true white. And it's a matte spray paint. So we don't carry that here. This is very fumey. That's one thing I will say is when you get ready to paint, make sure that you have a well-ventilated area. You have covered your workspace, maybe with newspapers, a drop cloth. There's no cars nearby in case there's any overspray. And obviously no little ones because it is, again, very fumey. Give it a good shake, and you just kind of like you would expect, right? It's spray paint, back and forth, back and forth. This has such an incredible coverage. I think you could do one coat. If you want it really, really brilliant white, do a second coat and then leave that to dry. Here's what this looks like. I just did this one yesterday. And I actually started sanding some of the edges because I kind of like that worn look. Or you could leave it beautifully white with no sanding. It's kind of whatever you want to do. If you are going to sand it, I would say about kind of in the hundreds grit. I think it's like 100 or 120 grit. You don't want to be up in the 400s, 500, 600. It's not going to get rid of the paint. It's not going to give you that vintage look. So if you're looking for that vintage look, obviously the coarser the sandpaper, the more paint it's going to remove. So this is how the Paisleys and Polka Dots kits assemble. We will be having a variety of these on the website. And of course, there'll be nuances of the assembly of each of them. And as you can see, they're beautifully engineered. So if you are looking for a display that is so unique, so charming, and will certainly bring plenty of compliments, head to the Shabby Fabrics website to pick up this display and so many more. And if you would like to learn how do I mount that cross stitch or a quilt block to these darling displays, catch me on my next video where I step you through that process and show you just how fun and easy it is.